Hi there, everybody. Welcome back to our quarantine series of fly tying. I'm Steve Worley, owner of the Worley Bugger Fly Company, and today I am going to show you how to tie the Yak Stone. So earlier this week, I did a video called the Patriot, which we have loaded up on our website there. That if you haven't seen it, you can view. The Yak Stone is definitely a fly based on the Patriot and the stimulator. So this is the original version of the Yak Stone that I tied well over 2 decades ago. It's a great attractor fly, and it still holds up today. It's morphed into a variation of a lot of different patterns for us over the years. Where we've incorporated foam, we've tied a parachute. We're going to do those videos for you as well in the coming weeks, so keep an eye out for them. But until then, this is the Yak Stone, so stay tuned. All right, so welcome to the Yak Stone fly tying video. So let's get started here. First thing that you're going to need is a 3x long dry fly hook. This is a Gamakatsu S10B. I also like to use a mustad, and that number is 94831. That's a 3x long dry fly. The mustad hook is not barbless. The Gamakatsu, of course, a little better steel and is barbless. So there's no messing around with the bend and the point there. So start your thread behind your eye and work down. Lay down a thread base, and always want to get a good thread base on there so your material doesn't slip around, especially on these Gamakatsu. This is a black hook painted, so it's a little bit slicker than what a bronze hook is going to be. So the first thing that you're going to need is the red dubbing. And you're going to want to just take out a little bit and dub it onto your thread. This is going to be to create our little egg mass here on the back. Kind of serves 2 different purposes. It works as a little attractor ball there, and then it also is going to splay these goose biots. So take one stripped goose biot and lay it in on the side, and then take the other one. Make sure that you get them positioned correctly and that they're even on the ends. And then you can tie those down and chop off that excess there. So that little ball helps splay those out, gives it kind of that stonefly look. So the next thing that we're going to tie in is this brown hackle. And you want this undersized, just like if you were tying a stimulator. So strip that off and tie that in real good so it's not going to pop out on you. You can even give it a couple of little pulls there. And then what I like to do is I like to take this other spool of uni thread here on a bobbin and tie it in, and then pull it back out of the way. That's going to come in handy here down the road in just a few minutes. So your next step is your crystal flash smoke blue. And you can't really substitute any other blue. Trust me. I've experimented 1,000 different ways with this fly, and just kind of like Charles found out too. Charles Meck, and I'm referring to the Patriot. We did that fly earlier in the week, and the Yak Stone is, has morphed, from the Patriot. So work your thread, tie in, all of your body materials. You got your crystal flash, got your brown hackle. You want to kind of build this body so it's cylindrical. You want it to kind of be even. This is a stonefly variation, kind of attractor. So you want it to be kind of bulky and big. Okay, so make sure that it's all kind of nice and uniform there. So really the Yak Stone, based on the Patriot, and the way the Patriot came about was Penn State has a real famous fly fishing program at the state college there, and they simultaneously dropped trout eggs into a trout tank that were dyed every single color of the spectrum, and under every light condition the fish always hit the blue egg first. So you don't see a whole lot of blue flies, Yak Stone and the Patriot, and a few steelhead flies, but really kind of an underutilized color, just because we don't see blue a lot in nature, especially in bugs when fly fishermen are trying to emulate stoneflies or caddisflies or mayflies. So not a whole lot of blue, but on the color spectrum, once you kind of start to understand how fish see, how the cones in their eyes shift, then it all kind of starts to make sense. Okay, so we are ready to form our body with our smoked blue crystal flash. And like I told you earlier, if you take and kind of wet this, with some saliva, it'll kind of help it. And you can kind of twist it too. It's not the easiest material to use as a body material. It's kind of used in for other purposes, but that'll just help you as you're wrapping it forward. So when you're gonna wrap this a couple of times, but usually what I like to do on that first wrap is just tie it down. That's just in case it decides to unravel on you, or if you lose grip of it. Just keep kind of winding it around, trying to keep those crystal flash fibers together. It can be tricky. And then just tie them off. And make sure they're bound down real good. You can lay a half hitch there too. That'll keep it all bound up. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our brown saddle hackle here, and we're going to wind this around the body. This is going to help with flotation. You want to wrap that about 4 times, 5 times, whatever you can get out of it, spacing it evenly, and then tie that off. And you want that undersized too, just so it floats right when you're fishing it. And then take your bobbin that you tied in earlier. We're going to use this as a ribbing. And with the bobbin, it just gives you a little bit more control as you're running this rib through the hackle. You're trying not to capture any of those hackle fibers. And then you can just tie it off, just work it towards the eye of the hook there. Make a couple of half hitches and you've created the first few steps in your Yak Stone. Okay, so now we are ready to tie in our elk wing. I like to use elk. You can use deer, but you know, elk are magnificent. My favorite, you know, animal. King of the forest, man. So I like elk. It's bigger, it's hollower, you know, it floats better than most deer. So put your cut your wing, put it in a stacker. You want to make sure that you comb out all the underfur. I've did that. This is a great little tool for doing that. Get all that out of there. It just helps stack it better. You want all those tips even. You want your fly to look good. You know, I don't think the fish are going to care really, but you know, as a fly tire, I mean, you're going to care. So get a measurement. You want that wing to be, the tips of your elk hair to be right off the end of your goose biots. Make sure everything's even. And just lay that on top and then just pull. And I like to just take my finger and my thumb and just pinch that forward and then make a few wraps and bind that down, and you'll see as each wrap you take, you'll see that elk hair get tighter and tighter. And then you can take and just run it through at a couple of different angles. You want that wing to, you know, stay in place and not move around on the body. Pull down tight. And then you can start trimming all these little pieces out of the butts. Just get them as close as you can. It's where it's nice to have a, you know, you don't necessarily need a rotating vise. I mean, they're nice for sure, speed things up, but you know, just a vise that, you know, that has a head that spins around so you can really, you know, get in and see your work, you know, and when you need to, you know, do stuff like this, to get in there and, you know, chop stuff out. Okay, so once you got your wing in there, you're going to take and you're going to cover up all that. That's going to help bind that wing down even more. Just try and cover up all that. It doesn't need to be all done because it's going to be covered up with dubbing anyways. But just make sure that you can pull on that wing like that and that it's not pulling out, you know, because you're going to be casting this fly, you know. If your wing comes out during casting, then that's a poorly tied fly. Okay, so the Yak Stone is coming to life here. We've tied in our elk wing. We got it all secured nicely. We're going to take and tie in our rubber legs next. So you want these kind of long so you can manipulate them at the end. You hate to tie in a leg that's too short, so you can have them a little long. So take your leg and what I like to do is double them up, get them in place there with my thread where I want. Should be like kind of right at the base of the elk wing there. And then take and cut that loop, and then you can pull them down over the side and get them in place before you tighten them down. Get them right on the sides there, right where they're going to lay flat in the water and move around a little bit. Attract fish, create a silhouette. So you get those where you want them. You're going to want to see how I'm pulling on that thread just to tighten those and get them tight. And you can take and make a couple of figure eights there. And then work your thread right all the way to the back, the base of that elk wing. Your next step is your grizzly hackle. So take a grizzly hackle that you've sized, and strip the stem off there. Lay that down on the side, and then we're going to tie that stem down nice and tight. Just make some wraps. Get that tied in. Nice and tight. Should be able to pull on it so it doesn't pop out on you when you're winding it. So don't worry if your legs are a little tweaky looking. This is where you can really manipulate them with your dubbing. So pull your dubbing out here and start applying some to the thread. We're going to build in our thorax now of this Yak Stone. Just take out, kind of the key to dubbing is just, little small amounts. Just apply it on the thread, just wind it around. You can always add and you can always subtract, with dubbing. So it really gives a lot of people fits. It's probably one of the biggest questions that I get is, about dubbing. So once we're ready to lay this forward, just kind of pull everything back. And this is kind of where you can start moving that dubbing around, and see how it helps kind of pull that wing down too over the body. And then it'll pull those legs back out of the way too. You can kind of figure eight around them. And that kind of helps separate them and get them nice and even. Just kind of watch how the dubbing's going on there. You want it nice and uniform. And then you make sure that you don't crowd your eye either, because you're going to need to tie your hackle off there. Okay. So take your grizzly hackle, and we're going to wind this around. We're going to try and get 4 wraps out of it. That's going to help with flotation and just kind of the desired look that you want. So tie that in and get in there nice and close and get all that all those little grizzly hackle fibers out of there. That's why you don't ever want to crowd the eye. You want to be able to get your tippets in there. And then get it right around the base and make a couple of half hitches there. Or whip finish tool, whichever you like to use. And then just cut that. And then here, this is, why you leave your legs a little long. Now you can just kind of take and start trimming those legs a little bit, even them up. I like the front legs of this fly to be a little bit shorter than the back legs. Like that. And then the last step here is we'll just take a little bit, just a tiny, tiny drop of Solarez UV glue. And we'll just put it on that thread just so that half hitch doesn't want to come undone. Really a great little tool, this UV glue is. And then just take your UV light and fry it. And that is your Yak Stone original version. So let's trim that leg a little bit more. There we go. The Yak Stone. Thanks for watching, everybody.